I'm a youngin printer. I'm 20 years old, so I'm still pretty new to the printmaking community. So I'm very excited for this opportunity from Partners in Print. And thank you all for coming to come see. Yeah, I am from the Texas Panhandle, and my love for my home shines through in most of my work. And I am a bug enthusiast. My grandfather was an entomologist, and if I wasn't such an art nerd, I would be too. I got into printmaking because of a printmaking class that is taught here at the University of Texas. And I stayed into Letterpress because of all the robust resources that are available to students here at UT. In printmaking, we don't always think about where our materials come from or how much we make waste in the process. Having unlimited access to synthetic pigments makes it easy to mix endlessly, wipe away mistakes, and start over. But what if we worked with colors that had a history, a process, and a natural origin? Today, I want to talk about using cochineal to create letterpress ink, not just as a natural alternative, but as a way to be more intentional with our materials and our practice. So, you may be asking yourself, what is a cochineal beetle? The cochineal beetle is a small insect native to Central and South America that feeds on cacti, especially the prickly pear. It's best known for producing carmine dye, a vibrant red pigment that is derived from the carminic acid in the beetle's body. This dye has been used for centuries in textiles, cosmetics, and food coloring. Cochineal beetles are also a pest. They're parasitic, so they harm the cactus. You can see on this heavily infected cactus that I took a picture of that they suck the nutrients completely dry of the cactus. While they are a pest, they are also cultivated industrially to be used as natural food dye in things such as Yoplait strawberry yogurt, red M&Ms, and my favorite, Nerds gummy clusters. My interest in using cochineal and letterpress printing sparked during an open prompted final project in my printmaking class taught by my professor, Henry Smith. I love tying my work back to my home, and I always try to keep sustainability in mind whenever I'm creating. My professor introduced me into the concept of using cochineal pigment. I knew that I wanted to use it, but I wasn't exactly sure how to start. I had grown up seeing cochineal beetles on cacti in my backyard and on my family's ranch, and I had always seen it walking to class at the University of Texas, but I had never stopped to actually investigate them. So I went around campus and tried to remain as inconspicuous as possible and hunched in bushes. I scraped the tiny clumps of cochineal beetles into an Altoid tin and shoved them in my pockets and took them back to the lab. I started my experimentation here. It was the first time I had actually tried crushing them, which is a little gross. But there in that picture on the right, you can see the lovely magenta pigment, that carminic acid. This carminic acid is very beautiful, but it also serves a purpose as their defense mechanism. It's called an aposematic deterrent. Aposematism is a defense mechanism where animals signal to predators that they are poisonous or otherwise dangerous, often using bright colors, patterns, or sounds. Some examples of aposematism in nature are monarch butterflies, poison dart frogs, and even mushrooms. In my research, I also learned how others use cochineal pigment and found some helpful YouTube videos. The majority of what you find on the internet regarding cochineal pigment has to do with textile dyeing and watercolor pigment creation. So I had to alter my recipe to work for letterpress pigment. If you collect the beetles, dry them in the oven or an air fryer like I did at about 350 degrees, I promise it only takes a couple of minutes, and if you burn them, it stinks really bad and your roommates will be really mad at you. And then if you crush them with a mortar and pestle, you can get a really beautiful magenta powder. You can see in that picture in the bottom middle, that's just me adding water to it, and it's already extremely vibrant. Once I had this powder, I began experimenting with different bases. There are pictures here you can see of it being mixed with water-based mediums. I also tried adding citric acid to the one on the left because I learned that if you change the pH of the carminic acid, it lightens the pigment to an orangey color. But I also learned that adding citric acid to water-based inks melts it. So I don't recommend doing this. I would have used a water-based mixture to hand ink my type, but I wanted to use rubber ink to fully utilize the ink rollers of our letterpress machine at UT. I tried mixing my powder with the rubber base and it was an ugly, chunky mess, and my powder wasn't fine enough to be soluble in the rubber. I used this as an opportunity to research professionally produced cochineal dye extract, and I found a brand that I respected and looked into the farm that they get their pigments from to make sure that they were an ethical source and ordered some right to Austin. This is also helpful information to those listening from outside the southwestern US and if you don't have prickly pear cacti in your backyard. If you're interested in using cochineal for any creative projects, I recommend buying from Shepherd Textiles. For my final letterpress project, I mixed the powder with a letterpress ink base. Once I got the ink mixing to my liking, it was time to print. Another cool thing about this project that I did is I set it in historical Rob Roy Kelly wood type. Like my classmate Gabriela Rivera spoke about last year, the RRK wood type collection is a library of over 150 typefaces from the 1800s, assembled by the noted design educator, collector, and historian Rob Roy Kelly. Design students at UT are able to use this wonderful curated library for any of our projects. It was a little bit scary to use this beautiful historical type and cover it in bug juice, but that is exactly what I did. I don't think you guys can hear the video, but there is some print ASMR right here. But yeah, that's the print. All the red that you see right there in that picture on the left is completely natural cochineal pigment. I also wanted to include some of my other experimentation with cochineal pigment, the honorable mentions. And I wanted to say that in printmaking, it's super easy to waste ink, whether it's from mixing too many colors, not planning ahead, or just having unlimited access to materials. But when you work with natural pigments like cochineal, you're kind of forced to be more intentional. You get what you get. And that limitation actually makes you think more about your choices. Plus, it connects you to the history of color and how people made ink before synthetic pigments. This pink is not a pink that I randomly created by chance. This pink has been used for thousands of years in so many different ways across the globe. I did use a rubber base for the ink, which isn't the most eco-friendly, but this is a step towards being more conscious about the materials we use in print labs, especially in a classroom setting where so much ink gets wiped away. Using natural pigments could help us be less wasteful and more thoughtful in our printmaking process. Thank you.